Okay, so does anyone have anything they'd like to share this morning or ask any questions?
Mr. Kim, I was interested in the exercise today at the end, the Dantian point. And I was wondering how that was connected to the primordial breath and the in scripture. Actually, it was very interesting how scripture came into that. But when we find that point in the Dantian, is it a very primal, like breath of life kind of thing, or is it just a more ephemeral feeling that we're looking for?
Yes.
So thank you, Mr. Kim.
Let me see if I can do a little better than that. But the answer is actually both, because we'd like to make a distinction between like primal, when we say primordial, oh, is it primal? Or is it more ephemeral? It's kind of like, is it more subtle and spiritual? Or is it like more distinct, and can you like just really feel it? I mean, that's really the question, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so when we ask these questions, it's happening because we don't know how distinct the experience is supposed to be. And what I'd like to say is that the experience is really distinct. And I'm not sure whether this is relatable and how accurate this is. But if I'm not mistaken, the experience would be equivalent to having, if anyone has done plant medicine or any kind of hallucinogenic substances, it's like a matter of dosage. And so how deep you are in the experience. And so it could be, ephemeral. It doesn't need to actually be subtle, if that makes sense.
Yes, that does.
Right? And so the way you really want to look at it is actually, not as a subtle or is it not subtle, or is it supposed to be, like this or that. But when you're doing the Dantian breathing and it's happening properly, it actually becomes the primordial breath. And primordial breath, it just really means, like the word primordial suggests, something that goes back to the origin of all things, right? Where it all came from, before it all started, primordial. And so that's, what it connotates. And what we're really trying to express is that, it's something that's kind of, you're tapping back into the source or even beyond, if you will, right? That's what we're trying to say. And the reason we talk about that is because we're trying to go beyond the obvious physicalities of things that allows us to connect back into the source that allows us to take care of all things. Because one of the experiences that we have is that when we piecemeal things, it never works. And so it's our effort and an endeavor to try and see if we can connect to something that is more unified, more integrated, that actually binds all things together. And so,
that's the feeling for me of the scripture binding all of this together.
yes, right? So as human beings, it is in our nature to look for things that bind all things together, because the experience of that is the experience of balance. Because see, for things to balance, the whole system needs to work together, right? So is it just ephemeral? No, because ephemeral is a part of your experience. Is it Primal? No, because that's just part of your experience. And so if it really is primordial, actually, then it is all of it. It's an all-consuming affair.
Oh, that's really clarifying for the experience I had this morning. Thank you.
Oh, good, 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 good. Okay, yeah, it sounds like then in that case, you really had a primordial experience. And so and that's one of the reasons why there's so much in my opinion, this is my opinion, you know, since I'm just one teacher among many, but in my opinion, from the practices and the experiences that I've had, is that really actually you know, when you're doing the dantian exercise, then you can just have a limited experience of your dantian opening up and like the energy flowing through your body and what's the word for it? You know, your whole body opening up and your breath like really opening up and your whole body opening up. And that's like a great experience. And even that just is just miraculous. But when it really opens up and then you feel that like spreading to your heart from your dantian, from your lower dantian to your middle dantian, then you start really experiencing devotion, and then you start experiencing how the energy and your body and your emotions are really just the same thing. And all of a sudden you feel connected to all of life and the universe, and it just feels like you love the world and the ocean, and you have that transcendent experience. And then when it hits your upper dantian, your third eye, to where it opens your crown, then you start having visions. And what kind of visions, like, really depends, but you see heaven, and you see beyond things. You see information, you have downloads. And so when you're in real primordial breath and it's actually fully functioning, then all of these are actually waking up, and you will be having as you said, an ephemeral experience, a unifying experience, and also a very concrete primal experience. And so, how far you can go, I could say sky is the limit, because the better you get at it, the deeper you can pursue the experience. And so now, depending on the kind of makeup you have in the beginning, it's going to vary. For some people, the physicalities are going to open up more. For some people, the relational connectivity aspects will open up more easily. And for some people, the visions will open up more easily. And, that's really just a private matter in terms of, for some people, it's actually also kind of like the energetics and the spiritual energetics will open up first. Like, those are the four distinctions. The sense of connection, if you think about it, like devotion, or the physical energies, or information and visions, and things like that, or kind of the ephemeral, energetic, spiritual experiences of spirits and entities, or things like that, of different energies. And so that really depends on kind of where your talent is and your makeup is. And it's like everyone's made up a little different. Some people have a more imaginative mind, some people have a bigger heart, some people have a stronger instinct, and so on and so forth. And that's one of the reasons why there's so many different systems and so many different masters. One of the reasons why you should probably keep studying and endeavor to kind of see what works best for you. But having said that, it probably kind of gives you an idea in terms of what you were talking about. So primordial breath in our system, now, each system will have, if they're old enough, will have something that's called primordial breath. So I can't talk for other systems, because that's a highly private matter, if you will, like in terms of like how you name your system. and each founder has had their idea as to what that's supposed to be. But in our system, primordial breath is basically when your whole body is just being breathed by itself, where your experience is that of, where your whole body is breathing, or your whole being is breathing. And so it's the most comprehensive breath, and it's the primordial breath that we're actually trying to reach through all the training that we're doing. And so that's actually what we call primordial breath. And in that activity, everything is activated, and it's an all-consuming affair.
Thank you, Master Kim. That helps me really integrate the multiple facets of the experience this morning.
Good. I'm glad. Well, thank you for sharing that. And that was a great question.
Thank you, Master Kim.
You're welcome. Okay, very good. Anyone else have any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Or anything?
I
Yes,
wanted
go ahead.
to, well, first say thank you, Shijay. That was an awesome question and an awesome answer, Master Kim. I love that exploration. And then I just wanted to share something, which is that you've been having us feel the central column and kind of having our awareness there as we're training. And it's been really wonderful. And you've been also tying it to the emotions. And I've been really enjoying it. And it's been really interesting because before I felt like things were naturally releasing, but now it feels more like this feels more like that. This feels more like spontaneous liberation when I like just feeling the central column and just feeling the tube and just feeling the pleasure of the energy flowing. It feels like it's like before I thought there was no effort, but it's like there was still having to have some kind of awareness on it and then it would release. But this feels more like the release happens on its own and there doesn't even need to be awareness. It's like just feeling the central column, like it's like it like it releases, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So that's
yeah, you
really, yeah, go
just
ahead.
being. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Good.
yeah, right. Just being, and then it's like it releases. And so, which is cool because again, it's like I thought it was effortless before, but and it makes me think of like, the texts I've read on the stages of practice, and where it like they describe, there's the where you put attention on releases and then where it just kind of releases on its own, and it feels more like that. And then the other thing that's been really interesting with it is I had an experience where just resting in that, like if I would think about something, like the whole situation just releases out.
Yes.
Where I've had the experience of a whole thing releasing out, but it's been more like happenstance. It's more like some things are releasing and then I feel like this whole thing released, but it's more like, oh, I just think about this and then I feel like the whole complex of it in my system just kind of let go. So I just wanted to share that and thank you because this has been an awesome exploration.
Well, good. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's like instead of individual piecemealing it, that means that you're coming to the level of identity. So where if we define, so ego, it's kind of interesting because ego, if we define, so ego is the part of us, it's how we see ourselves to protect ourselves. That's probably the best way to define ego. And ego is basically, we have certain fears, and ego is our protective, it's how we see ourselves in order to try and protect what we believe is vulnerable about ourselves. And the spiritual endeavor is to continue to be present with the self, in a way where you let go of your fears, where you become less and less fearful. And so in some ways, you could say it's a continuous letting go of the identity that you have in order to protect yourself, where you realize that, you know, you don't need to protect yourself. Actually, the ultimate, if there is such a thing as protection, the ultimate protection is just being. Now that's easier said than done. The concept is easy. And each time you experience a release of your ego, you realize it's true, that there wasn't anything to be afraid of. It was just actually really in your mind. And so, you know, as you are, as you go through this process, you just start realizing how true that is. And that it was actually just a matter of learning. There's something that you needed to learn because you didn't know how to handle that, but you mistakenly saw that as who you are, and you became afraid that you're not adaptable in that area. And that's why the ego is so protective, because it believes that you cannot learn because you're somehow damaged or you're somehow unable to learn in that area. You know, it's kind of like, oh, but this is who I am. I can't do that, you know.
So basically, it's kind of like learned helplessness in that area.
Yes. It's learned helplessness in that area. And, you know, it has to do with shame and trauma and things like that, because at one point it was true. You know, the experience of it, it's true. And so as you go through this, you, as you become more and more familiar with the energies, and as you become more integrated in your own mind and in your own awareness, you start being able to actually, instead of just in parts, and the reason it takes so much effort to let go in parts is because in parts you can't fully let go if you really think about it. You know, it's like think about that. If you have a whole system, you know.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, think about like a spider web. Imagine that you're just trying to take one part of the spider web and just, you know, release just one part of the spider. It doesn't work. You have to take the whole thing down all at once.
That's why it feels effortless.
Yes. And so, you know, but imagine that, you know, you're trying to just release one part of the spider web, and then you release one corner, but then you feel like something else is attached. You go release that corner, and then you realize that something else is attached, and you release another corner, and you're like, it's like, it just seems forever, like forever. It's like, takes so much effort. And then even when you're releasing, it kind of feels sticky and it's not releasing. But if you just take a stick, then, you know, the whole thing comes off all at once. And so, you know, and so the whole thing comes off, and, you know, that's basically the letting go of an identity, because you are, because you can be. In that moment, you're in reality, or your system has relaxed, where it's not holding on to the fearful self. And so that's kind of what you're experiencing.
That is awesome. Thank you, Master Kim.
So yes, it's kind of like you have the whole insight all at once, right? Oh.
Totally. And we also, I think we need a t-shirt. The ultimate protection is just being. I think we've got to add that to the lineup.
I don't know how popular that will be, but
I'll get it. So
okay. Okay, very good.
thank you so
I
much.
think this is, you're welcome. I think this is probably a good place to stop and call for today. That was most enjoyable. So, okay, very good. Okay, thank you for all the questions and the discussions. Hope that you have a great day of primordial breathing that results in a complete ego release that takes you towards freedom.
Thank you, Master Kim.
Thank you, Master
Welcome.
Kim.
Welcome.
Thank you, Master Kim.
Welcome. Bye.